Donna, Roslyn, and Elaine are best friends, even though they've known each other less than a year. They became bound by blood when their doctors told them they had a deadly and isolating disease.
She told me I had hepatitis C, and I left the doctor's office just not knowing anything about it or what it was.
Once I found out more about it, I was destroyed. I went into bad depression, and that's when I went home and pretty much just closed out the whole world.
He opened up my file and goes, "Oh, by the way, you have hepatitis C." I go, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "Oh," I started crying. And he goes, "You should show no remorse. You gave it to yourself."
Hepatitis C is the most common blood-borne virus in America. It infects 3 times as many people as HIV, usually in urban areas. Few people here in El Dorado County have heard of it, and this is where the 3 women live. Nestled in the heart of the gold country, the county is best known for its rustic charm, not hepatitis C. But rates of the disease there are higher than the state average. Still, the women felt isolated before meeting each other in a support group.
It hurt bad. And it still does when I have to tell somebody, I first meet a friend, I have to tell them I have hepatitis C, and they're like, "Well, what's that? And is it contagious? And can I get it?" And it's very scary.
What's scary about hepatitis C is the fact that symptoms can go undetected for decades, making it what many call a silent epidemic. It spreads solely through the blood, and injection drug users who share syringes are at greatest risk.
That's one thing in the support group I try not to focus on. It doesn't matter how you got it or when you got it, as long as you know you have it so you don't spread it.
The liver-destroying disease can also be caused by transfusions, tattoos, and in some instances, sex.
I mean, you could beat your head on the wall for hours trying to figure out how you got this virus. You need to be thinking about how to get well.
But it's a good thing to know about.
It's the connection to drug abuse, they say, that makes it hard to get people to acknowledge the disease. They formed the Hepatitis C task force to get recognition for the disease. But the women have their work cut out for them. The El Dorado County Public Health Department doesn't offer testing, and there's only one doctor who treats it.
Just hold on one sec.
Dr. Judith Brandt recently opened a clinic offering treatment.
It amazes me.
What happened?
The reason why the hepatitis C is involved is because I realize that there is nobody to treat the hepatitis C in our county at all. And hepatitis C is an epidemic that has become, it's an unknown epidemic in our county because nobody is testing the people.
And there's only one person in the California Department of Health Services that works full-time on hepatitis C.
That's the whole office, one-person office. That person's funded directly from the Center for Disease Control. So it's federal funding for a state position.
Chuck Newport, HIV educator for the Public Health Department, works with the women of the task force. He says the lack of resources for hepatitis C goes beyond El Dorado County.
There just hasn't been new funding coming through the legislatures of either the federal government or the state government for it. Without new additional fundings from the legislature, it's not going to happen.
The disease is incurable and can lead to liver transplants, cirrhosis of the liver, and death. But there's an expensive treatment that reduces virus levels in a few. Elaine was one of the lucky.
I just started crying, and they were all hugging me, and we were all holding each other and crying and thanking God, because it was just unbelievable. I didn't expect that. I didn't expect to clear it.
The treatment involves injecting the drug interferon, which leads to severe side effects. Many patients like Donna can't tolerate the medicine.
I did treatment last year for 8 weeks and had a allergic reaction and had to stop the treatment, and I'm waiting for the next treatment to come out, which I don't know when it will be.
The past 6 months have been a struggle to get the cash-strapped county to pay attention to a problem it wishes would go away.
Hepatitis C is a big epidemic, even here in this county.
But on this occasion, the Board of Supervisors seem to be listening for the first time.
Hepatitis C is truly a serious disease that
I thank God every day for them because I never really had close girlfriends. Once I found out about this, everybody shunned me. I have a whole new family, a whole new life, And Donna and Elaine are my best friends, and you know, together, all three of us, we're going to make a change, and we're going to make a difference, and we're going to go out and do everything possible.
How you see yourself and how you fit into the world is not a class that anyone's taught. It's something that you learn as you grow. If you're in an environment where a lot of people around you been in the pen, that becomes a potential or possibility. This is about pushing past all of that and not allowing that to be an excuse.
It's called take responsibility for your own level of physical fitness. I can tell now that as soon as y'all graduate, y'all gonna let yourselves go.
In June, these students will graduate from an employment and training program designed to help young men and women get high-paying careers, and for some, a way out of life of crime.
The potential is always within. I think it's just trying to come up with a vehicle by which to extract it. And that's kind of what I think we do here.
Scheming and plotting, scheming, shaking the demons is hard, but we all human. I hate living with a gun, but I can't live without one. Do I really want to know the outcome of the war? I'm a ride.
When Pop's gone, when I first moved over here, I used to be hecka rebellious. But when he went to jail, that was like a part of my history getting ripped out of my heart, knowing I ain't gonna have a father to come to my football games. I ain't gonna have a father to come get me out of trouble when I'm at school messing up, to really raise me and mold me right.
In Hunter's Point, not having someone to look out for you can cost you your life and earn you a shrine like this one.
My wall, I showed you that obituary. Adrian, unfortunately, he got killed, gunned down out here in the streets.
Been gone for over 10 years. My uncle Junior did want to have his life in the feds. Why do people want to see?
I stopped asking my grandma for money when I was 14 years old because I know she got to take care of a lot as far as rent, robbing people for no apparent reason just to have a quick dollar. It wasn't for no pair of tennis shoes. It wasn't for no gold chain. It wasn't for no gold teeth. It just was a part of survival.
$1 million short of my dream. Riding with my face.
When you be broke in the African-American community, there's so much negativity that you want to do. Now I could say what I was doing was really just planting poison in my neighborhood, planting a bad seed. And I believe in the word karma. It's gonna come back to me one day, but I feel like at that moment I was doing something right.
It was the Navy shipyard and its jobs during the Second World War that brought African Americans to the neighborhood. Now, shuttered in a toxic waste site, it's once again bringing high-paying work to the people that live here. This is the job that Deontay is training for. Toxic waste cleanup is lucrative but hazardous, paying up to $32 per hour and offers work year-round, with plenty of work to be done in Hunters Point.
Okay, right up here.
1/3 of San Francisco's hazardous waste sites are here. At the center is the closed Navy shipyard. For years, health officials have noted the neighborhood's elevated rates of asthma and cervical and breast cancer.
That place right over there sent a lot of people to their early graves right there. I had a friend named Bernard who used to work at the shipyard in the 70s, and he died because back then they weren't educated on the respiratories. They was wearing like them paper masks. No such thing as a 100% leak-proof respirator. Like if you working in a building with asbestos, when you talk, the respirator moves and it allows air to get in. The main thing is deconning your clothes because you can go home, hug your family, pick your daughter up, whatever, hug your wife, and have asbestos fiber on your clothes, and they can inhale it and they can get sick over the years. You know, it's a health factor, but it's a lot of money over there to be made. It's a lot of money. That's like a 6-year project over there on that cleanup. It's a 6-year project.
When I first walked in here, I just decided in my mind that this is what I wanted to do. I wanted a career, I wanted to start, I wanted to change. And I knew I had to change my attitude.
All the jobs you go to are gonna, first thing, before they even
let you fill out the application or go any further, they want a UA, a urinalysis test. What's his name? So he quit, but it's just not all part.
Yeah, it's just not to our system, but he does have OPI positive.
He's positive for cocaine.
Nell below, Kovac, Naila Bradford, Serta.
Because you didn't make it with this does not mean you will not make it. It simply means that you are cut out for something else.
As I'm getting older, I have standards in my life now. I got a lot of responsibility. I mean, I can't, one day I shuck out here playing around. That's gonna affect my future and affect my kids' future. Feel me? Put myself in a negative situation. I can end up going to jail forever.
I'm about this close to getting smoke. I'm about this close to smoking dope. I'm about this close to pushing coke.
I'm still at my grandma's house. You think I like being at this house? I like it because what you're doing for me, I'm grown now. I'm an adult. I gotta get off this porch and go get my own stuff together.
I understand that, Deontay.
I hate to see me leave the house sometime, knowing that some cowardly man ain't gonna respect my shine. My little son will see me grab guns and vest.
Most of the people that would be working with me have similar background. They've been in trouble with the law, or they just didn't pay their bills like it needed to. So being that's it's risky to your health, people don't get into this type of field, you know, so it's a lot of job opportunities, but it's a necessity for this. I want a piece of that, you know what I'm saying? I got a life I want to have for my family.
We got a dream like Martin Luther King. It ain't a vision, it's our vision right here. I wanna have a fat house like on the hill too. I don't wanna be standing here all my life. I got it bad, but it's always somebody out here in life got it worse than me. So I just thank God that I'm still living out here.
Pretty girls play with us grimy boys out all night. And I still get high, and I still miss fly, and I still need a cut from my folks Martell Pimp. It's a blessing that we ain't stressing off these boys.
If you were inside my eye, you might see now and then a spot of bright light and this gray curtain. I was tired of people saying to me, how can you take a photograph when you can't see anything? And I think they really were, they weren't asking me, they were telling me, how can you do this? Like, it's unthinkable. Well, I think I can do it, you know, and what I say to them is that the image starts in the brain. First of all, I'm feeling it. I can imagine it all. I think because I've worked with these images off and on, I know exactly what they look like.
Alice Wingwall has been photographing architecture for decades. She refused to stop taking pictures after going blind from retinitis pigmentosa, a degenerative deterioration of the retina.
My vision loss has happened over years and years and years. I used to go out a lot at night, and I thought that was bizarre, that I could see less well at night. And everyone just said, well, why don't you eat carrots? We knew nothing about it, you know. We didn't even know it had a name. Nobody knew that it was a real disease. It was just you know, a terrible time of adjustment to realizing you were going to lose your sight. And then we kept thinking maybe it wouldn't be so bad. Maybe it would not really happen. Maybe it would stop somewhere. But of course it went vigorously on.
Alice is married to Donlin Linden, a renowned architect and the former dean of the School of Architecture at UC Berkeley.
You know, what you have to go to every minute of the day is unbelievable. And what you're deprived of in terms of information is unbelievable.
Well, there's nothing good about losing your vision. You know, it's just horrible. It's amazing that people think if you've lost your sight, you've lost your brain, and that you must be stupid and not intelligent. I just try to deal with it the best way I can, and then figure out another way to make something happen. It's a bit crazy. Why would you keep on doing this when you can't see it? But I don't think I'm going to stop. I just love holding the camera.
But But I try to describe her what it is and how it's connected, and give her my reading of it, and what seems really striking, what seems to be astonishing. My job is to help her achieve her vision. As someone who at this point is bringing forth her vision rather than finding it.
And what about these guys?
Alice's work is on exhibit at the Berkeley Art Museum.
She really works with this huge archive of images in her mind's eye that she can remember, that she can build, that she can expand on. This is something that Alice has developed over decades. It is instilled in her. It is fully part of her practice.
Well, the amazing part of what she does is this sense of invention. It's her incredible carrying on and not being defeated, which is the courage that has made her just keep at it.
Sometimes he forgets that I'm blind. He said, "Would you read this?" or something. So it's pretty funny that just because of my actions, he thinks I can still see when I can't.
I absolutely think that Alice activates a very different kind of sight. This is an artist who really meditates on vision through her photography.
Though I've lost my sight, I haven't lost my vision. I think people look down on disabilities. I don't care what they say. I just didn't want to be categorized as a blind artist. Well, I'd like to switch the phrase a bit. I could say I'm an artist and I'm blind. But the artist part should come first.
Yeah, have her call me because she needs to give me this information for this press conference, and I'm heading there right now. Okay, bye.
It's Tuesday morning. District Attorney Kamala Harris' day has just started, and it doesn't stop. As San Francisco's first woman district attorney, Harris is also the first African American in California to hold that position. And it doesn't hurt that she's young, attractive, and charismatic.
We got a press conference?
Yeah, we got a press conference.
Yeah.
Harris is on the news as often as any other public official in San Francisco.
This is our
need a whistle.
newsletter. Oh, well, you don't have a whistle? What's the matter with you?
I need a whistle.
You got one now.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome. Hi, how you doing? Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
But behind the smiles, the stress of the job can get to Harris.
Kamala Harris, how are you? Okay, what are we doing? Okay, what am I going to talk about?
How's it going?
Good. I'm going from one thing to another, and my head is just spinning. I'm good.
The upside is she gets to say what she thinks, and people listen.
The fact that any crime is motivated by hate in this city is outrageous.
I love my job because I get to talk about things in terms of the fact that we want to certainly make sure that rapists and murderers pay a consequence for the crimes they commit. But that also, as law enforcement, we want to be invested in rehabilitation, because if we can prevent people from reoffending through rehabilitation, we can make sure we have a community that's safe.
Harris has a unique way of doing things, which begins with her opposition to the death penalty, an unusual position for a prosecutor.
I think there are flaws in it as a system, both in its design and its implementation, that it can take up to 25 years between the time someone is sentenced to death and the time they're executed. You know, we've just basically got a system that is at a very high expense to the state, creating this whole octogenarian death row population. Okay, who's the victim, who's the defendant?
Within 3 months of starting the job, a San Francisco police officer was killed. And almost immediately, Harris made it known she would not seek the death penalty. Police were outraged.
As tragic as it seems, we just had another officer killed over in Pittsburgh, and police department is a brotherhood. You know, the fire department's a brotherhood. When you lose someone in the fashion that he was killed, you know, at first blush, you want the person, you know, kind of the eye for an eye kind of thing. She first of all told everyone up front that she did not believe in the death penalty, and people that voted for her knew that going in.
It's been 2 years since the case, and either time or circumstance
has narrowed the rift between Harris and the police department.
How's your relationship with the police department changed or gotten better or worse?
Oh, it's a good relationship. I mean, they know I'm running a professional office and we're working together to improve the work of law enforcement. So it's good, and life is long.
Do you really believe, in the justice system and what you're doing?
Oh, absolutely. If you don't give up on a system and you keep working it, you can improve it, right? Because it's going to exist. So either you're going to be impacted by it or you're going to be involved in shaping it, right?
When does your day end?
My days don't end. Larry can tell you that.
Aside from district attorney, what do you like to do? What are you interested in?
I like being DA. It's a full-time job.
Even though this seems like it's all in a day's work for Harris, she still feels her biggest battles have yet to come.
And here's the thing, I used to talk about it during the campaign. It is a myth for people to think that black folks don't want law enforcement. We do. We don't want excessive force. We do want law enforcement. We want fair law enforcement, which is why I'm doing all the work I'm doing around juvenile justice, right? Getting them jobs. Because if they're working, they're not robbing. I've got the power as the chief law enforcement officer of this city and county to make the decisions. And in that way, I love the job that I do.
I'm Livia, I'm 21. See, I'm kind of a chronic job switcher, so since I've moved to California, which was about 4 months ago, I've had, 5 jobs or something. So let's see, I worked in a restaurant, and then I worked in another restaurant, and then I worked at an office, and then I worked at another restaurant, and then I quit all of those, and now I'm working at 2 more restaurants. Let's see, I got high this morning, went to work. What else am I gonna do? Probably smoke a blunt this evening.
It's like floating on your back in a nice lake on a beautiful day, and the lake's warm enough that you don't feel the cold, and you just feel halfway weightless. Halfway weightless, yeah.
More than 20 million Americans are subjected to employment drug tests. Livia and Dale are 2 of them.
I really can't see myself not smoking weed. I've smoked it for 13, 14 years. Almost on a daily basis.
12.4 million American workers use illegal drugs. Only a fraction, 5%, have failed their drug tests, but that number is rising. For those who get high as a lifestyle, trying to beat drug tests is just a fact of life.
My name is Dale. I've failed 2 drug tests, and I've taken 6 drug tests. So I've passed 4. I work on 18-wheelers. Big trucks, the trucks you see on the freeway. Basically, you see one of our trucks going down the road. I've worked on it at some point, and I've smoked it while I've worked before. And I know that I do not do very good work being stoned. Way cool. I just love this car, and I used to hate. Sure, I shouldn't do it, but I really don't. I've never had any comebacks, never had anything break on my watch, and just my record should speak for itself.
Livia didn't get tested at her waitress job, but she managed to beat an earlier test for an office position.
They actually make fake pee. It's this powdered stuff. You add water to it, you heat it up in the microwave, and so it's at the right temperature, and then you just bring it in with you and squirt it into the cup. My temp representative was the one who told me, go out, get this thing. They have these great things now that let you cheat on them. I'm like, okay, if you say so, I guess I will.
Go into the little room to take the test, pour the stuff in there, and I'm stirring it up, acting like a mad scientist. Pour 1 in, and I think, well, if 1's good, 2's better, so I went ahead and used the other 1 too, and I'm doing everything I can do to keep my job because it's all I had. A few days later, I get the phone call from the company doctor. You didn't pass your test.
There's masking, there's flushing, which may be why some of these products work, because they involve
drinking something. Flushing is basically, and in many ways, probably the easiest and best way to go. Now what they're coming up with are even these more draconian things. Hair testing. Drug testing has become big business. That means it's going to continue.
This is the real action, the pot party.
PSAs like this one from the 1960s warned of the dangers of drug use, and widespread on-the-job drug testing began in the 1980s when drug use was high and detection was low. Although the number of Americans tested each year continues to grow, the fraction who fail has been cut in half.
Well, now it's like this. The amount of money spent is up here. The use is down here. The question is, do we still need it?
I don't really think the drug tests are weeding out anyone in particular. I mean, if you're smart enough to cheat on a drug test, you're probably smart enough to do their job, I mean, I think of it as kind of just a way for big corporations to assert their control over the individual, saying, you have to pee in this cup for us, and you have to be clean or we won't give you a job. They're intruding into people's private lives, and it's stupid. It doesn't make a difference.
They figured out that they can't take people out by just taking out dealers. Now they're taking out users, and they're taking out casual users. They're not taking out the guy on the street that's total crackhead stealing radios from everybody's cars. They're taking out the guy that's working, blue-collar guy that's working, feeding a family, not really hurting anybody but themselves. And I think it's wrong. It's wrong to take it to the people like that. How many batons do you have? My wife supports me smoking weed. She would prefer that I smoked it all the time. She knows that I like it a lot, and I like how I feel about it, and I'm actually a much sweeter person on it.
Right on, I love you too. I got a great wife.
I almost think that if worse came to worse, if it went down like that and I did lose my job over this and I couldn't find another job right away, I think it would put such a strain on our relationship that we would either get separated or divorced.
I don't think pot's really addictive, so I wouldn't consider myself an addict.
For Livia, the risks of getting high are minimal.
My job was so inconsequential. It really would not have mattered if I was totally out of it all the time.
But it weighs heavily for Dale.
About the harshest thing that's happened to me is I was laid off for about a month. And about the only thing that's harsh compared to that is just the constant looking over your shoulder, wondering when you're going to get tested again, especially after you've smoked weed and had a good time. You don't think about it when you're smoking it. You take 1 or 2 drags, and pretty soon, you just don't care. You get home, go to bed, wake up the next morning sober, and think, dang it, now I'm a time bomb again. Now I'm a ticking clock. And I think it does have a lot to do with the growing up process. Like people say, why don't you grow up and quit smoking it? I think they're right. I think I am still being a kid when it comes to it. But everybody's chasing their youth. Everybody is. I'm just trying really hard not to refuse mine.
April 9th, 2004 wasn't a day to be on the road in Baghdad. Exactly 1 year before, American forces had declared victory in one of the city's main squares. But 12 months later, it wasn't clear who controlled the capital. Journalist Pradap Chatterjee remembers orders to stay inside.
This is an incredibly dangerous day to be out. There was a tank going around every half an hour saying, do not leave your hotel, do not leave your house, in both Arabic and English.
But one company failed to heed the warnings. With orders for fuel from the military, Halliburton sent several convoys onto the road. By day's end, 6 of their employees would be dead, and more than a dozen would be injured. This is their story, the story of April 9th.
Just blow the horn.
When Stephen Hearing signed up to go to Iraq, he saw a new world of opportunities.
Here in the States, a truck driver doesn't earn, I mean, they make a decent living. To go over there and do something like that, man, it can make a lot of dreams happen.
Halliburton offered him $80,000 a year to drive in Iraq, money that could send his oldest son to college.
I wanted to make for sure that he was going to have a good education. I wanted him to have better chances than I did.
How you doing?
Uncle Chuck, he's come to see you. He loves you.
90 miles south, another family faced a tough decision.
I cried many times, begging him not to go.
An ex-Marine and Vietnam vet, Suzanne's husband, Bill Bradley, loved to travel. Iraq was his newest destination.
I said to him, "Why do you want to go?" And he said he wanted the adventure.
Before he boarded a plane headed for the Middle East, she gave him one parting gift.
And I bought him a St. Christopher medal. And in the Catholic world, that is the patron saint of travelers. And on the back it had the Marine insignia on it. And I told him, don't take it off.
Kind of like summer camp, you know,
Yeah.
you lived in a tent.
When they first arrived, the work seemed like the adventure they had been looking for.
I'd never been out of the United States, so it was something new for me.
That sense of adventure quickly turned to apprehension as the road transformed into an obstacle course littered with explosives.
They started putting them inside of dogs so that we would run over them.
By April, the Halliburton contractors were already on edge when Bill Bradley's convoy came under attack.
They called and said that there had been, kind of like there was an incident with the convoy.
The incident began at 12:15 when Bill's convoy turned down a highway known as Sword. According to an Army report, military command had placed the road under a black alert, meaning it was not safe to pass.
Information was provided by the military saying this was very dangerous, and it never made it down to the drivers.
With little or no direction, the drivers were sitting ducks, stuck in a 5-mile kill zone. While Bill's convoy burned, Stephen heard a warning over the Qualcomm, his truck's internal radio system.
Qualcomm message came across the Qualcomm and said to seek shelter.
That message was ignored by Stephen's superiors, and the convoy pressed on. Stephen's friend Stacy was also driving that day and remembers what happened 5 miles later.
I seen this guy come across the highway. He was running, and he underhand threw that grenade, and it was just like 1,000, 2, 1,000, about 3, 1,000. Boom! Back of Steve's truck just instantly was on, just it burst into flames.
Trying to keep driving to get away, but the truck wouldn't hardly go.
Stephen jumped out of his truck and ran, but was quickly cornered by insurgents.
At first I gave up. I thought, of course, obviously I'm standing there laying there with a gun to my head that there's no way I'm going to get out of that. And then it was kind of, there were still explosions going on, and it got real quiet. In my head, it got quiet. And I heard my youngest son say, "Daddy, come home." And I just got up and started fighting.
With only a backpack to defend himself, Stephen used the chaos to his advantage.
When I just started fighting, I saw a break between two of them, and I just took off running. And I just kind of zigzagged.
Miraculously, Stephen escaped. The men of Bill's convoy weren't so lucky. 25 of the 43 ended up dead or injured. One civilian driver was kidnapped, and Bill Bradley was left unaccounted for.
I did a lot of crying. My girlfriends were staying here with me to make sure I was okay, because I hadn't gotten out of bed, because I would be glued to the TV to see anything.
Suzanne watched and waited, and made a lot of unanswered phone calls.
Nobody wants to talk. Halliburton won't talk to me.
Finally, 8 months later, Bill's body was found, buried in a shallow grave not far from the attacks. Despite the loss of 59 employees since the war's beginning, Halliburton isn't having any trouble finding new recruits.
The first 80,000 is actually.
By the company's own estimate, 200 new recruits are shipped out every week, part of a massive march of civilians to war.
We've privatized intelligence. We've privatized the training of interrogators. The pace of privatization is increasing as few and few people sign up to work in the military.
With more than 30,000 employees in the Iraq-Kuwait region, Halliburton's workforce is 3 times the size of British forces in Iraq. With so many private workers on the ground, the rules of war are beginning to shift.
One of the things that happens when you privatize a lot of military functions is you turn it over to a company that does it for profit, and profit is their bottom line.
It's that bottom line that may have jeopardized the safety of workers on April 9th. The families of 16 drivers, including the Bradleys, are now suing Halliburton, charging the company with wrongful death, negligence, and outright fraud. Halliburton has yet to respond to the suit, but in the past month, they have launched a new campaign.
When we showed up, there's nothing there. We serve the soldiers who serve the country. We're doing stuff that you'll never read about in the papers.
It's a campaign that paints a rosy picture of a reality Stephen says is much more grim.
Take a picture and show all the new guys.
Right.
Of somebody dead laying there.
Or a piece of shrapnel laying through, you know, that went through all the way through.
Through
you know?
somebody's face.
Yeah.
And
somebody with an arm missing.
This is
where he got shot.
What happens in Iraq.
Stephen says if he had gotten that picture from the start, he never would have gone.
Meet Simone de la Ghetto.
I love to entertain people. Well, I guess, well, it's not just that. I love to entertain myself.
Meet Teresa Ellis.
So much. So I will see you tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Both of them love what they do.
All you gotta do is put some fringe on. You never know what happens when you put some fringe on. I love helping people. You know, I love making sure that people are taken care of.
These two ladies have something else in common. They're both the same person. Simone de la Ghetto founded Harlem Shake, an all-black burlesque troupe, 2 years ago.
Being one of the only black burlesque performers in San Francisco, it was really challenging to perform for a mostly white audience. And then I was like, you know, I think I really want to just not just but have more women of color on stage. And what's the only way to do that? You can wish for it or you can make it happen. And I decided to wish for it and then make it happen.
For Simone, dancing has always come naturally.
I've always been a performer as a child. I would always dance in front of the steps of my house and pretend like that was the crowd.
But all this shake comes with bills, not fries. And Teresa's day job selling real estate keeps the troupe on its feet.
I fund most of it. I fund the rehearsal space. I fund the costumes. I fund, you know, the travel, depending on what it is. So my dancers know that it's a labor of love and a labor of putting out this mission for ourselves. I feel 100% myself when I'm on stage. Or when I'm off stage, I have to lose maybe about 5–10% of myself. But when I'm on stage, I'm completely myself, in my element, being who I need to be and doing and having a great time.
Harlem Shake is part of a larger pop cultural resurrection of burlesque. From music and movies to trendy nightclubs and even reality television, burlesque is bursting out all over. But in the beginning, a burlesque show meant a night of giggles, not jiggles.
I'm a fortune teller. Fortune teller? Say, that's very interesting. Would you like your palm read? Love my palm read. What the heck?
And the word burlesque, actually, it doesn't even inherently have anything to do with stripping. It's more of the notion of like satire or irony. There'd be plays performed that were very, serious pieces of high art or high theater. And then a burlesque was like a satire on them.
Later, striptease was introduced. Since then, audiences have been clamoring for dancers who look like the ladies of Harlem Shake to take it off. For Simone's troupe, audiences weren't so friendly.
When we first started dancing and we first were around in San Francisco, in the Bay Area, people would be laughing and clapping and cheering and wow for all the non-brown girls. Woo! And then we'd go on stage and they introduce us and they would be just silent. And we
A lot has changed since then. But Teresa says that there is one audience Harlem Shake hasn't reached yet.
I don't think we've ever performed for a fully black audience.
These days, black audiences are more likely to see black women shaking it in rap videos.
The difference to me is that the girls dancing in the music videos are dancing for someone else's approval, where women who dance burlesque, they're self-approving. It's like, this is not about you, it's about me being fabulous.
Simone hopes to bring her show to black neighborhoods.
I do this because, A, I think my people have forgotten how fabulous they are. And they just need a little gentle reminder, and that's where I come in.
In the meantime, Harlem Shake continues to perform for audiences like this one at the Art Deco Society Bar.
I want to be remembered for bringing back a lost art for people of color. We're capturing that essence of the past that no one really knew about.
Until then, the history of black burlesque is a titillating lesson that Simone and Teresa will continue to teach, one shake at a time.